Hello, Black Sheep. Thank you for being part of this worthy herd. I hope you're having an amazing day. I hope you're having an amazing week. I hope you're having an amazing moment. I appreciate you tuning in today. And a great story shared with me. You know, we talk a lot about the fact that we are not our thinking. You know, can you be open to the idea that you're not your thinking? And people often very quickly say yes. They realize that everything that pops in their head is not true. And that begs the question, what are we? And so a lot of the work we do by Sheep Thinking is helping people understand what happens when they lean out of their thinking as a problem, as a solution, to all their problems, and just save their brain for actual work. You know, things like building IKEA furniture, or solving a math problem, or making change at a restaurant, how to add 20% as a tip, you know, those kind of things. And so a friend of mine who's works as a paramedic for years, and he works in the healthcare system with mental health. I was talking to him about this because he's really leaned into the work of his model, which is about perception and then reality. Our perception is our reality that translates to our behavior. And that's not inaccurate. I mean, when it comes to, I'm just going to shift this for you. There we go. I feel better about what that did. Nothing probably. And so anyways, that stuff really... it can be accurate. I mean, we can spend our whole time wrestling with our inner critic and our thought process. Most of our lives is about asking questions to our inner conversation, our inner dialogue, and improving that dialogue is certainly a way to improve your mental health, at least when it comes around your thinking and your emotions. But that can be a vicious circle too for people. That same strength can be their weakness, and it takes a lot of time and energy to do that. So to work into this spot of understanding that comes from this mass inside of us is really valuable. You know, when we realize what the feeling is under our psychology, that not the feelings as our emotions, but the feelings of the things that are naturally there, innate inside of us. The love, the forgiveness, the service, the insight, the wisdom, the creativity, the joy. These are just words we use for these feelings, but there's a feeling. And so some people call it spirit. Some people call it awareness, consciousness. Anyone who's done work with me has experienced what it is to have these feelings that flow out of us naturally, that produce such positive results and let us heal and see things in a whole new light that puts us into flow. And so one of the reasons I bring this up is because I was sharing this with him about how the work that we're doing is healing people faster than anything I used to do for my psych degree. And he asked me how I got people from here to here. And here isn't it's interesting because we say our hearts sometimes. And I ask people sometimes to close their eyes and think about the spot, reflect on the spot, or point to the spot. There we go. There's the proper word. I say point to the spot where you do your thinking. Point to your spot where you solve problems, and they'll point to here. And then I'll ask them to point to the spot where they exist, where the concept of, and I say their name, where does Morgan exist? And so a majority of people point, maybe like 95% of people point here. Some of them point in their heads still. I think a lot of people live in their heads, but there's a large number that point to this. And so, there's a whole understanding of vestibules and consciousness and a whole bunch of things, but he found that very profound just in that conversation. He was like, that's interesting. And I asked him why. And he shared with me a name of a person, which I don't recall, but that was the first heart transplant. And it was really interesting what he said about it, and what it came to an understanding, this thing we understand is, our hearts, or some people say. And so he told me the first person that had a heart transplant, when they were talking to him about the procedure, his wife was in the room, and they asked him, do you have any questions? And the wife said just one: will he still love me? And I kind of thought that was such an interesting question because, first of all, there's been many people now in modern society that have had heart transplants, and they don't report feeling any differently about the people they love. And we know scientifically the emotions that are associated with attraction and whatnot, they're in the brain. So on Valentine's Day, we're brainwashed to do the heart symbol, and I love you, I heart you. These images aren't even accurate hearts, but we just think of the heart as love. But it would be more interesting. It would be more accurate to say I think, or I brain you, with a picture of a brain instead of a heart. But the weird thing is, maybe really draw attention to it, is if we know that it's the brain that creates emotions, then what is this feeling underneath our thinking that's beyond emotion? And why do people point to this spot on their body? And so I just think that lends more evidence to this massive consciousness that some people have told me that, like, the concept of energy, which is another word for spirit, the energy that we carry as people, the same energy that was used to resuscitate me when I flatlined at KGH getting my tonsils out, the same electricity that brought me back to life, there's energy inside of us. And this massive energy that we feel underneath our emotions, that is the truth of who we are, that's a place that people point to even if there isn't our heart, which is interesting because when I think, I feel, and there's measurable energy in my brain. But when I talk about the things of the joy I had in delivering my son, or the feeling I had in when I created a charity with my community to help give back with TP the Town, or any of the times I've watched a client shift into awareness that they love themselves, there's this feeling of gratitude and service that's beyond an emotion. Matter of fact, when I ask people who have children what it was like to be there for their child, and in that first moment, they don't use words. It's like descriptives like wow, or they tell me it's overwhelming. They don't use words that are emotions. They might use the word joy, that'd be the closest thing. But there's just the other thing that exists beyond thinking that creates that. There was no logic to it. And so that's really interesting, that this whole heart transplant thing I never considered, that even with, there's still this feeling inside this. And so people have told me, like I said, scientifically, that there's like the energy concept is that if you want to use the word spirit, that a lot of people believe the spirit's inside of our body. But it's so large, the energy, that if we were to close our eyes and put our hands together and feel the energy between our hands, we can feel it. And some people would then argue that the spirit's outside of the body, or the body is inside the spirit, not the spirit inside the body like we're convinced in images and pictures. And so think about that, how meaty of the concept of the heart and the concept of spirit from a non-religious point of view, this energy that's inside of us that we can feel, it's all around us and we sense it. And so this is the cool thing with energy work like Reiki and stuff like that, and I'm not making a pitch for any of that stuff, but it's kind of interesting. And the reason why I bring it back is, think about that. When we point to this spot, what we're really saying is the energy inside of us, not our heart. And so from now on, when you say, I feel it, maybe that isn't exactly an emotion you're feeling. Bring awareness to that feeling and recognize what it is, and see if you can lead from that spot. Yeah, we use words like love and forgiveness and service and understanding and all these words that help us try to put form into something that's formless. But I just want to bring attention to that story because I thought it was a great understanding and interesting thought process to try to take you out of your head and into the feeling underneath your thinking, and see if you can spend time in that this week. Be more of the truth of who you are. Thanks for checking in today. I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.